Hello, my friend. Today, I will tell you a very special story. It is a story about hope, patience, and the little things that grow with care. Sometimes we want everything quickly, but life teaches us to wait. This story will show you how patience can bring beauty into your life. Let's begin and discover the garden of patience together. The decision. Thomas lived in a small village surrounded by rolling green hills. The morning sun lit up the rooftops, and birds sang cheerfully. Villagers walked to the market, children ran in the streets, and everyone greeted one another. But behind Thomas's little house, there was only dry soil, full of stones and weeds. He looked at the empty land and sighed. "I want a garden," he whispered. "A garden full of flowers, colors, and peace." One morning, Thomas walked slowly to the market. The air smelled fresh, and the sound of a nearby river filled the village with calm. At the market, baskets overflowed with seeds: roses, sunflowers, tulips, lavender, and daisies. An old woman stood behind her table. Her hands were covered in soil, and her eyes sparkled kindly. "Good morning, young man," she said. "Do you have patience?" Thomas laughed softly. "I think I do." "Why do you ask?" "Because flowers do not grow quickly," she replied. "They test our hearts. If you can wait and care, they will reward you. If not, you will be disappointed." Thomas nodded and carefully chose a bag of mixed seeds. He walked home slowly, imagining the garden he would create. When he arrived, he removed the stones from the soil, pulled out the weeds, and loosened the hard earth with a shovel. The sun was high in the sky, warm on his back, but Thomas did not stop. Hours passed, and his hands became sore, but finally, the soil was soft and ready. He planted each seed gently, placing them in small holes, whispering encouragements as he worked. "Grow well, little seeds. I will take care of you." When evening came, Thomas sat on a small bench, tired but happy. He watered the seeds once more and went to sleep, imagining a garden full of colors. The old gardener. The next morning, Thomas woke with hope. He ran to the garden, expecting to see green leaves. But there was nothing, only dry soil. He watered again, gently, whispering to the seeds. Days passed. Thomas began to feel doubt. "Maybe I bought bad seeds," he thought. "Maybe flowers do not like me." One morning, an old man walked past Thomas's house. He had gray hair, gentle eyes, and carried a basket full of fresh herbs. "Good morning, young man," said the old man. Thomas sighed. "Good morning. My seeds do not grow." The old man sat down beside him. "Patience is not easy," he said. "I know. When I was young, I planted an olive tree. For months, I saw nothing. Friends laughed at me, but I kept caring. One day, a small green leaf appeared. Today, the tree gives shade to my house." Thomas listened carefully. "Do you think I should continue?" The old man smiled. "Yes. Water them, care for them, and do not count the days. Life grows in silence." Thomas watched him walk slowly away. He felt a spark of hope in his heart. That night, for the first time, he slept peacefully. Days of waiting, Every morning, Thomas woke with the sun. He poured water slowly over the soil, careful not to wash the tiny seeds away. He touched the earth with his fingers, whispering encouragements to the seeds. "Grow well, little seeds. I will help you." The village was alive around him. Birds sang, the wind moved the branches of old trees, and children ran past, laughing. Sometimes a neighbor stopped to watch. "Thomas, why do you water an empty garden every day?" asked a little boy. Thomas smiled gently. "Because I believe something beautiful is growing, even if I cannot see it yet." Days turned into weeks. Some mornings were bright and sunny. Others were gray, cold, and rainy. Thomas faced storms and winds that bent the soil and washed away some of the seeds. Each time, he carefully repaired the damage. At night, he often sat on his bench, looking at the empty garden. "I do not see the flowers," he thought, "but maybe patience itself is growing in me." Small changes. One morning, Thomas noticed tiny green points in the soil. His heart jumped. He bent closer and saw small leaves pushing through the earth. "You came," he whispered joyfully. The leaves grew slowly, and Thomas made small paths between the plants so that no one would step on them. Every day, he watched them grow a little taller. Neighbors began to notice the change. "Thomas, something is happening." "Your garden is alive," said a woman. "Yes," Thomas replied softly, "but it is more than flowers. It is a lesson of patience, care, and hope." Children loved to help. They came every afternoon to water the plants, remove weeds, and learn the names of flowers. Thomas talked with them about patience, telling them how care and love can help anything grow, plants, hearts, and dreams. "Patience is not only waiting," he said. "It is also learning to act gently and carefully every day." The first flowers. After weeks of careful care, the first flowers appeared. A red rose opened its petals slowly. A yellow sunflower lifted its face to the sun, and tiny white daisies danced gently in the wind. Thomas laughed and clapped his hands. The garden smelled sweet and calm. Bees, butterflies, and birds came to visit. The village children ran and played, laughing as they admired the colors. The old gardener, who had once passed by, returned to see the garden. His eyes were kind and he smiled. "See? Patience is stronger than doubt," he said. Thomas nodded. "And I see now that waiting is not empty. It is full of hope, love, and care." Sharing the garden. As Thomas's garden grew, he realized it was more than just flowers. It had become a place of peace and joy. He decided to invite villagers to visit and see the beauty that had grown with patience and care. Children ran along the paths between the flowers, laughing as they smelled the roses and touched the soft petals. Old women sat on benches, enjoying the gentle breeze and the sweet smell of lavender. Men rested under the tall sunflowers, sharing stories and smiles. "Thomas, this is amazing," said one neighbor. "It is more than a garden," Thomas replied. "It is a place to learn and feel peace." Thomas taught the children how to care for plants. He explained that patience and love are needed for anything to grow, not just flowers. Every day, give attention, care, and hope, he said. Time will do the rest. The children listened carefully, watering plants and removing weeds. They learned that patience is not waiting idly, but caring with love every day. A test of patience. One morning, dark clouds filled the sky. A strong storm began. Rain poured down, and wind bent the flowers and tore leaves from the plants. Thomas watched anxiously as the garden struggled against the storm. "All my work gone," he whispered. He ran outside, holding small stakes to support the tall sunflowers. He cleared mud around the tulips and roses. Hours passed, and he worked until the storm finally ended. The next morning, the sun shone brightly. Slowly, the flowers recovered. Thomas smiled. "Patience is not only waiting," he said. "It is helping and caring, even when things are difficult." The villagers admired his dedication. They began to understand that patience is both a feeling and an action. The garden's full bloom. Weeks passed, and Thomas's garden became a spectacle of colors and life. Bees buzzed happily, butterflies danced from flower to flower, and children's laughter filled the air. Thomas walked slowly along the paths, remembering the dry soil of the past, the doubts, and the long days of waiting. Beauty grows quietly, he thought. Hearts grow too, when we care and wait. Visitors came from nearby villages to admire the garden. Thomas welcomed everyone with a warm smile. He taught them how to care for plants and reminded them, "Take care of what you love, and do not rush what needs time. Patience and care will always bring beauty." The garden became a place of learning, reflection, and happiness for everyone in the village. Thomas realized that the true reward of patience is not only in seeing flowers bloom, but in the love, hope, and joy that grow along the way. Lessons learned. Years passed, and Thomas's garden became a place of joy, learning, and peace. Children grew up remembering the lessons of patience and care. Neighbors learned to help each other, even in small ways, and the village felt closer and happier. Every morning, Thomas walked slowly through the garden. He touched the petals of the roses, smelled the lavender, and watched the sunflowers stretch toward the sun. He thought of the dry soil of the past, the doubts he had felt, and the long days of waiting. "Life is like a garden," he whispered. "We plant kindness, care, and love. Time makes them bloom." He smiled, thinking about the old gardener who had once walked past his house. Thomas understood now that patience is a gift, and the garden was more than flowers. It was a reflection of his heart. This story showed a simple truth. Everything in life grows when we give time, care, and love. Not only flowers, but hearts, dreams, and friendships. Patience is not waiting for time to pass. It is learning, caring, and growing with love every single day. Thomas's garden became a quiet reminder to everyone. Good things come slowly, but they come beautifully.